Welcome to episode 2 of the Smooth Podcast, simply motivating others onward through hope. And here next to me on the couch, we have Sam Albert. Sam
Yes,
Albert is one of the best real estate agents in New England. He's going to say Rhode Island. I'm going to say New England. He is the number one statistically best real estate agent for Black people, African Americans in Rhode Island. He's the number 2 real estate agent under the RE/MAX umbrella. Sold more than 70 homes last year. I bought my first multifamily property from him, which is a crazy story. Hopefully we can get into it.
That is a fact.
But Sam, how you doing?
I'm doing well, man. It's Monday. Mondays always beat me up, but
Yeah.
it is what it is.
I'm happy for you to make it. Let's just dive into it. I want to know about your early life. So where did you grow up? Where were you born and raised at?
Yeah. So this question's always it's a question that I get a lot, right? To start interviews and to start podcasts, but it is super important to me because I think it defines who I am. So I was raised by a single mother. And I do have 2 siblings. I have a brother and a sister. But it was me, my sister, and my mother in the house. Born and raised Pentecostal. So my mom was super strict. We used to.
Can you explain that, the Pentecostal?
Pentecostal. So it's a denomination of Christianity.
Okay.
So born and raised Pentecostal, and all that really means is I used to spend like 12 hours in church and sleep in church. Yeah, wow. And like our service was Sunday school at 10 to 11, and then from 11 to 3 we were at church every Sunday.
Sheesh.
And then you had like Sunday night service. You had Wednesday Bible study, and Saturday morning they would come over to the house and pray sometimes. It was intense. So nonetheless, I think that instilled a lot of good things in me. But my mother was super strict growing up. And that just taught me a lot of structure. Mm-hmm. As much as I hated it, as much as it's done things to me that I hate to this day that that affect me in my personal life and work life, I think overall, it was good. So that kind of defines how my upbringing was personally.
Okay. And what high school did you go to?
Mount Pleasant.
Okay.
Mount
Kill
Pleasant.
ties, right?
Kilties.
Yep. And then
How do you even know that?
Come on, man. I used to drop, a good 15, 20.
Okay, there we
you know
go.
what I'm saying?
Okay.
Well, that's another podcast.
That's a different story.
Podcast. And then you are a URI graduate. So tell me about your time at URI.
Yeah, so I went in to URI. I did TD. Shout out to TD. And then I didn't know. My majors went from computer science to communicative disorders, which is speech therapist and speech pathology. And then we transitioned eventually into human services and family studies and health service administration. So that's kind of where I majored, which is totally different than what I do today. In a way.
And when I first met you, you were actually part of a group. I don't know if that group started in URI.
Yeah.
Do you want to speak about your dealings?
I do. So I was part of Sorry for the Blog. So I was one of the co-founders of Sorry for the Blog, and it was me and 2 of my great friends that I went to middle school together.
Wow.
So I got kicked out of ×2 Academy.
Wow.
7th grade, yeah.
Why'd you get kicked out?
I never forget this letter. It was grades, performance, and behavior.
You acting up?
Yeah, I wasn't the best student.
Oh,
I wasn't terrible, but I wasn't the best. And my mom still doesn't even know that I was actually supposed to stay back 7th grade. So they kicked me out, and they were supposed to keep me back. But I went to public school department, and they were like, "All right, we're gonna move you into Isaac Hopkins. You were promoted to the 8th grade, right?" And in my head, I'm like, "No, but is she asking me?" And I was like, "Yeah." She's like, "All right, you're all set."
Wow.
I don't think my mom still. I'll tell her. I'll probably tell her now. I'm sure.
I'm gonna make sure I send her a link.
I'm sure she's not watching this, but but yeah. But I met them there. Thank God I got kicked out and I met these guys, and then we ended up being classmates at Mount Pleasant, and then we went on to be roommates at URI. So we started a blog. So I was a wedding photographer prior to all of this. I was a producer. I used to make beats. I was also a musician at church. I used to play the drums.
Wow.
And I was doing videos. So I was in Ultra nightclub recording for DJ FB.
Cool. Shout out FB.
Yeah, just damn stories, and then
Ultra.
just music videos. Yeah. So yeah, that's So that led me to being so intrigued with creating a blog, and we threw events and highlighted a lot of local people. It was a time for sure.
Well, I remember me kind of throwing events in early 2013, 2014, 2015. It was beneficial for you as an event planner, as a promoter, to get the blogs, to post your flyer. That was actual thing. Yep. And to build relations like that. And to this day, you're in my phone as Sam. Sorry for the blog.
You're not the only person that does that. Yeah. As crazy as
That's when the real ones are.
I just ran into I think Mitch. I ran into Mitch.
Okay,
He was like, "Yo, I still got you saved as Sorry for the blog," which is pretty crazy.
Yep. And now the real estate thing. When did you realize that you had a passion for it? When did you recognize you had a passion?
By accident. How I sort of got my introduction to real estate was while I was at URI, I was working with a young teen. He was 13, maybe even 12 at the time, who was on the autism spectrum, who's doing phenomenal now, who's about to graduate college and everything. But his mom was a realtor. So I was working with him, and she got me to kind of help her with tasks and everything like that. And she also convinced me to buy my first house. So after I graduated.
And when you say convinced you, what did she actually say for you to
So after,
it's a whole different mindset.
It is. So, but I think what got me there again is my mom's just strict tendencies, and my mom's a very anxious person, so she worries a lot, right? So from URI, I would get home whenever get home back to the dorms at 2, 3, 4 in the morning. This is normal, right? Mm-hmm. Graduate URI, come back home, it's 10 p.m. My mom's calling me, where you at? And I'm like, whoa, you know what I mean? So I don't know what Sarah said, but it was probably along the lines of, you should consider buying your multifamily. And, she was a realtor. She probably was just trying to sell me a house, but not really. She knew my personal life. And I said, yeah.
And how old are you?
I said I needed space away from my mom. I was 22.
Wow.
So I needed the space. Houses were super cheap. I think I bought that 2-family in Cranston for $169 or something like that. Today that house is $415. But yeah, that was my first introduction. But how do I recall falling in love with it? It was when mortgage payment was $1,300, and we had a tenant upstairs. Tenant upstairs was paying $1,200, and one day I sat back and I'm like, wait, this is interesting, because if I move out of here, now I have a small business. Mm-hmm. I have income coming in. I'm making money every month, and I started to just kind of scramble and try to figure it out. And then Sarah, my mentor, got me to flip my first house. And it was at that time that it was a whole different world, and I loved it. I couldn't get enough. And till this day, I can't get enough.
And how old are you when you flipped the house, and what year was this?
I was 23 or 24 maybe.
Wow.
So probably 2016. Don't quote me on that, but I was 23 or 24.
And what were you able to do with the proceeds from that flip?
The first one? Mm-hmm. What proceeds?
So there was no proceeds.
I made my money back. So okay. I made my money back, and that allowed me to try to do another one.
Gotcha. But you kind of got the taste in your mouth, and you're like,
oh, I knew something was there.
you knew something was up.
But I realized quickly, I'm a tough critic on myself. I realized quickly I made a lot of mistakes. And that's when I said, all right, if I can do this right, or if I can switch some things, something's here. Because I could have made way too much money, but I didn't. What happened, right? And I think at that point, I kind of realized I just need to adjust my approach, or I just need to do some things differently.
And now, at the Smooth Podcast, we like to hone in on those mistakes, those fumbles, those setbacks.
Yeah.
What can you recall as being one of your biggest kind of either failures, setbacks, to make you question yourself? Like, is real estate the way I want to do things?
It's my second flip. It is 246 Amherst Street, Providence, Rhode Island. I should have quit after that.
Wow.
I really should have.
And what makes you say that?
It was, so I came from my first one where it was like, I tried to flip a house with a tenant in it, right? I went through court trying to flip a house while evicting. I got the second floor out, but the first floor was still there. It was a nightmare. And then I go buy a 3-unit to try to flip, and it's fully occupied. So I didn't learn from my mistakes, right? But nonetheless, there was a ton of money to be made there.
Do you think that it didn't bother you that it was occupied again because you were just that kind of like set on flipping it again, and that was the first opportunity that came? Or
I think at the time it was intriguing. It was a thrill. I just was so like immersed into it. I was excited about it. But again, I knew there was opportunity here. But what I did wrong here was, I'll tell you what went wrong. There was a fire on the 3rd floor.
Wow.
I had prostitutes going in and out of the basement. And the police knew about this house. So at one point, I sat outside. It was me and my girl. I sat outside, and we tried to see who the prostitutes were, and I think we did at some point. And then we called the cops. Cops came. People running out the house butt naked.
And now, is this
Just
owner
a mess.
occupied or
No, I was flipping it.
Gotcha.
Just this is strictly
Strict
flips.
flip. Gotcha.
Long story short, this house, they ended up, I gave up. So I did give up. They foreclosed. They took the house.
Was it not producing enough revenue for you to pay the mortgage? Or
Tenants weren't paying.
Tenants just weren't paying at all.
They weren't paying.
Wow. And you couldn't get them out.
Nope. I didn't know as much as I know today. I made a lot of mistakes. I said all the wrong things. I sent the wrong eviction papers. All of the above, which allows me to be as valuable as I am and kind of a resource to so many people today because I've made all these mistakes. But it was at that point, I think by the end of that, I was like, wow, I don't know.
And now, for those that don't know, I mean, even myself, like the foreclosure process, what does that process look like?
So it is a little different. I don't want to get too much into that to confuse people and send the wrong message, but that didn't end up on my personal credit because it was through a private lender and it was through an LLC. But that's a whole lot different than if you were to stop paying your mortgage that you got and that the house that you live in your name. I don't even want to send off that message.
Right.
But it was fine. It was fine. And I didn't know that at the time until after the fact. But I think that's what allowed me to kind of, it's almost as if I had a fresh start.
Okay.
So I don't remember what caused me to keep going forward. But I did end up getting my license from there, and the rest is kind of history.
Well, that is kind of interesting, right? Like, you probably faced the worst possible thing
that's the worst thing that can happen. It don't get worse than that.
And then you go from that to getting your license.
Question is why?
Yeah.
I was in a career where, I graduated URI. I'm in human services. I'm a case manager. I think I was a case manager at the time. Making $30,000 a year. I knew well enough to know. I was smart enough to know that wasn't it. And I'm like, I'm gonna get past this, or I'm gonna die trying. Like I was not about to give up, although I felt like it. And I think 80% of people would have. But yeah, I just have a really high tolerance for risk, and for just, falling 9 times, getting up 10.
I think that's very important. Having a high tolerance for risk. I like the way you said that. Very few things, in my entrepreneurial type life right now, are gonna shake me or hinder me from doing something I actually want to do.
Right.
Like if the worst thing is me failing, then I can eat that.
Yep.
And I feel like to be successful, you gotta have that mindset.
100%.
Gotta have that mindset.
I think being young also allowed me to think like that too. I still think like that to this day. I think, especially being black and brown folks, we're not in a position to not take risks. Unfortunately. You know what I mean? I think where the wealth gap is way too wide for us to just be settled, for us to be content with, the traditional things that our parents did. And I keep that in mind, and I make smart investments, and I want to leave something for my son, and for just generations to come.
So when it comes to black wealth, we know that there's been, a decrease in black wealth since, the 80s. We talk about the crack epidemic, et cetera, et cetera. But one of the major factors is we do not have enough an increase, supplemental black homeowners.
Right.
Can you kind of talk about what it means to have a home, if not multiple homes, and how that correlates with building wealth?
So I think, and I don't say this to say everybody is trying to or aspiring to be a millionaire, but I think the quote or the statistic is 90% or more. 90% of millionaires achieve that status through real estate, which is that's crazy, right? And I think we shouldn't take that lightly. I think back to URI, and these folks that their parents were just sending them off to URI with Benzes and Lexuses, and they're 19 years old from New Jersey driving these cars, and they don't have to worry about Pell Grants and loans, unsubsidized loans, and any of that stuff. I know from my conversations today that a lot of these white students, predominantly white students, were able to go to college and get out of college primarily debt free because their parents had wealth. And I'm not talking rich, right? When I'm saying this, I'm not talking like multi-million-dollar people. I'm talking people that had equity in their homes, right? You talk about just having $120,000 equity in their homes, pulling out $60,000 and sending their kids to school. They were able to do that, and I think our parents weren't. So my parents migrated from Haiti, and maybe I don't think their job was to send me to. Their job was to just come here and give me a better life. Their job wasn't to pass down anything to me. But I think our generation, it is our job to put ourselves in a position to achieve wealth, achieve prosperity or success through real estate.
And for our viewership, what exactly is equity for those that may not know? Because when people talk about, wealth in real estate and making money in real estate, a lot of people simply just think, buy a house, wait a couple years, sell it. But there's way more to that. So can you break down equity and maybe the stuff that you can do with equity?
Yeah. So equity is simply the difference between what you owe what your house is worth, right? So if your house is worth this and you owe this, everything in between is what equity is, right? So I'm going to use really easy numbers here. If you only owe the bank $200,000 and you owe $200,000 and your house is worth $500,000, that you have $300,000 of equity, and you can pull a lot of that out to do whatever you want with it. You're borrowing against it, so now instead of owing 200, you're gonna owe more if you borrow against it. But you're able to pull money out. Imagine having access to like $200,000+ to send your kids to school or buy another property, right? Or invest it in stocks or whatever, invest it in flipping. That's what equity is, and that's how people can use it. I mean, you could use it in a not so smart way. You can pull equity out and buy a car. You can pull equity out and go on vacation. Bet. But that's what equity is.
Right. And, just to be clear, when you do pull the money out, it's free money in the sense of you didn't work for it, but it's not free money in the sense of you don't have to pay it back because you are going to have to pay it back.
Yeah.
Plus.
Exactly. So remember, if your house if you owed $200,000 and your house is worth $500,000, you can go to the bank and say, hey, I want to pull out 50 bands. So now you owe $250,000. That's all. And you're going to pay that over the course of 10, 15, 20, 30 years.
Right. And he made a very good point. The best bet when you are pulling equity out is, in your mind, you already know a way that you can flip that and make more.
Yeah.
Taking it out and buying, something that depreciates.
Right.
Now you're taking out money and you're going to have to pay back more money on something that's not making any money, which doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make any sense. And I see a lot of people do that.
Correct.
A lot of people.
Correct.
Now, unless, I will go back, so now we can get deep.
Okay.
Unless so maybe you can pull out 50 bands, right? You pull out $50,000 from your house and borrow it at a 5% interest rate or 4% interest rate, and go buy a car cash, right? So it's probably cheaper to do it that way, and you don't have to get full coverage.
Because the car insurance is going to be way higher than the 4 or 5.
Exactly, yeah, in most cases, right? So yeah, maybe, but again, we know cars are depreciating. No, not lately, but we know cars are not an asset per se. But there are smart things you can do like that for sure.
And on that note, it has gotten relatively tricky with deciphering what's an asset and what's not, because from the minute cars were invented, we were kind of told that was a depreciating asset. Now you can put on Turo if you want and make money.
True.
So it can be either or in a way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
On the kind of Turo thing, how do you feel about Airbnbs? Do you consider that real estate? Are you into it? What's your feeling?
It's 100% real estate. I think Airbnb uses real estate to allow investors and homeowners to invest. So all it is short-term rentals. I think if you own multifamily property, then you're an investor, whether you realize it or not. I'm not into it. I haven't gotten into it. I kind of have my niche, which is just buying distressed property, flipping it, and also new construction. That's kind of my lane. I have not yet got into that Airbnb aspect of things. I think it requires systems and operations, and I am way too busy to have a good system right now. I'm all over the place. My primary job is to help people buy and sell real estate. If I was to go do Airbnb, I think I would be doing my clients a disservice, because I think it requires a lot of attention and a lot of systems, right? And a lot of things to have in place. So I'm not there yet. I think I'm still young, and I think I'm still kind of growing my business, and that's just not what I see yet. But I think it's a great tool and a great avenue for folks to invest and make a lot of money.
Mm-hmm. Do you see in the in the future even more clamping down on that? I know Atlanta's kind of going through something right now where they're limiting to 2. Do you see more of that happening in the future?
I mean, even Newport, and I don't pretend to know the specifics, but Newport is going through some changes right now, where they're trying to eliminate that stuff. And like Danielle Alba, who's a great realtor, and my broker's wife has been fighting and advocating for that stuff. But there are going to be changes when it comes to it. But I think everything kind of goes through its ups and downs. But the savvy investors will adjust. I don't think Airbnb is going anywhere. But I think there's going to be some cities that are going to take a hit, and some cities that are going to thrive.
For those that are interested in real estate and want to buy their first multifamily property, what do you suggest they do? Do you suggest they YouTube? Do you suggest they Google? Do you suggest that they take courses? What do you suggest if I'm sitting at home? I think I have enough money for a multifamily, which chances are you probably need double what you think, honestly.
Sometimes.
But go ahead. Tell me what I should do.
So there's a couple things that I would do, right? So I would, even if I know I'm not 100% ready, I would sit down with a realtor to have a realtor go over the process with you. And you could be straight up like, listen, I just want to understand where I'm at and know the process. I may not be ready right now. And the right realtor is going to be like, bet. They're not going to push you to buy a house. They're going to educate you. I would start there, and that's going to have you be able to understand the process and have a broad overview as to what you need to do and what the process looks like. And then once you have that process, you know what the different type of loan programs are, and you kind of understand, here's where I need to be. You may want to sit down with a loan officer to kind of cover the financial aspects of things. And then the third thing that I would do is if you're in Rhode Island Housing offers like a landlord class, a home buying class. I would take it, even if you're not 100% ready. I would take it just to understand and learn and educate yourself on things that you may not already know.
I agree. Definitely take the classes. I didn't, which is why I'm saying you should definitely take those classes. Now, for those that are ready to buy, so they already know like what area they want to buy in, things of that nature, would you tell them to pull the trigger right now? Would you tell them hold off, wait until interest rates go back down? What would you tell these people?
So I'm the honest realtor. I don't look for that quick sale. I'm not at that point in my career where I need a quick sale. So here's my answer. If you're looking to buy right now, you better make sure this house that you're buying, you can see yourself living in it for the next 5 to 7 years, because we don't know where we're going in this market. You better not say, I might be moving to Miami or Cali or Texas or Pennsylvania in 2 years, depending on where my job wants to send me, and then you just bought a single family. Or you just bought a 2-unit, and with the prices and the interest rates today, the rents can't even cover the mortgage payment. Now you have a problem. So you want to make sure that you can see yourself here long term. If you're buying a multi-unit, which I highly recommend, make sure the rents cover the mortgage payment. That's it. Yeah, I think it's always a good time to buy if you're buying smart, because the name of the game is going to be longevity and equity. Right. So you may be buying a house today at $450,000, and next year it's worth $425,000, and then it goes down a little bit because the market went down. But the history of the market shows that in 30 years, when you were like 50 and 60, this house that you bought for $400,000 is probably worth $700,000.
Right.
That's it.
And a quick cheat code, just because the value of your house goes down, that doesn't mean rent goes down. Actually never means rent goes down.
Yeah, it doesn't. So and especially with a fixed interest rate, right?
Yep.
So like if you bought a property where you're making money every month, or the rent covers the mortgage, your mortgage payment's never going to change unless taxes go up. But probably not going to go down.
Right.
So you're going to be fine. Whether your house, even if your house is worth $1 the next day, you're probably still making money because your mortgage payment is your mortgage payment and your rents are your rents.
Right. And this section is probably the most important section that I want to get across real quick. And that is, it's labeled as the 4-3-2-1 method. I'll call it just the 3-2-1 method.
Yeah.
Where if you're out there and you see all these people buying houses, single family, stuff like that, and you think, man, I'm falling behind. Like, these people are so advanced in me. It's actually, in my opinion, the exact opposite.
Yeah.
And why I say that is because if you do this real estate thing the right way, you will never have to come out of pocket for a mortgage again. And so the theory is you buy a 3-family with 3.5 down. Mm-hmm. That's, it's difficult to save, but once you got it and once you knock that first one out the park, the rest are easier.
It gets easier. The first one's the toughest one.
First one's the toughest one. So you get your 3-family, 3.5 down. You have your other 2 units paying your rent/mortgage. Boom. Yep. You wait a little bit. You get equity, as we mentioned earlier. Mm-hmm. You can then, a lot of people don't know this, you can actually use the 3.5 down twice under certain circumstances.
Yes. Especially after 1 year.
Yes. Do you want to go over that? Because a lot of people think that, okay, if I use the FHA 3.5 one time, I'm done.
That's not true.
But that is a rumor, and I want to just enlighten everyone who's on this journey with the Smooth Podcast. This might be the biggest wealth tip I ever give in the history of this podcast. And, do you want to explain how you can use it multiple times?
Right. So I'm going to give a disclaimer. I'm not a loan officer. I'm a realtor. But I'm going to give you...
And that's when you know he's about to drop something crazy. When you
got to
give disclaimers,
I don't want to say
that's
the wrong
when you
thing,
know.
but I know.
He's giving disclaimers, though.
So
man,
if you were to buy a 3-unit, right? You bought a 3-unit today, and you put 3.5% down. In some cases, it's probably less because Rhode Island Housing has a program where they're giving you $10,000 towards your down payment.
And I wish I knew that.
You didn't know that? Oh boy.
I wish I could see a podcast like this and show me that.
So in some cases, like you can be paying you can be coming to closing with like $4,000, $5,000, $6,000.
Crazy.
And buying a house.
Crazy.
Through Rhode Island Housing. It's called a 10K DPA. But if you bought a 3-family today and you put 3.5% down, after 1 year, you could downgrade, right? Because FHA, this is the 3.5% federal program that we're talking about, isn't going to see that as an investment. All right, so you could probably put 3.5% down, and now you have 2 properties. And that's generally the tip that that loan officers will give you. Some will say, "Oh no, you have to put 5%." I'm not going to go into it too much. But generally, that's the rule of thumb that we've been told is that after a year, you can look to purchase something else as long as the underwriter does not deem it as another investment, right? And that's where they say start with the most units, so 3, 2, 1. So you start with a 3-unit, you can work your way down from a 3 to a 1 because they're not seeing it as an investment. It's truly, it is, right? But in some aspects, it's really not. You're although you're building your portfolio, you're moving out of the 3-unit, you're renting it out and making money there. Now you're in the 2-unit, and then so on and so forth.
And then from the profit that you are making from the 3 and the 2, it covers the 1.
Correct.
So instead of jumping out the gate with the 1 family, it's going to take sacrifice. It's going to take time.
Right.
But if you play this game the right way, your 3 and your 2 will make sure that you or your significant other never have to come out of pocket for a mortgage in your entire life.
Yep.
Which is a game changer.
Yep. And that was, so what we're saying right now too was huge from like 2018 to like 2020, just last year, 2021. The prices were perfect. The interest rates were perfect. It was just the perfect storm, and a lot of people became wealthy doing it. I think now it requires a lot more analyzing and a lot more conversations with your realtor to make sure this particular property works for this method. But yes, there's still opportunity. I think there's going to be more opportunity coming as I predict the prices will go down a little bit. So yeah, this is I'm glad you brought this up.
Yeah. Last question on the real estate side. I have my own theory towards it, but why does it seem like Rhode Island, whether it be apartments or single family houses, the insides look so old and just wooden and just, but like, can you kind of, I don't know if you know why, but
Yeah,
why is Rhode Island like that and still able to charge
whatever they want,
top
ridiculous
tier
numbers.
prices off of bare minimum?
Supply and demand. I got this thing that you need, and it don't got to be perfect because you just need somewhere to stay. And if you don't want it, you don't think it's the prettiest, I bet you somebody else needs it.
So with that being said,
And I think that's made a lot of landlords lazy.
With that being said, if there was a group of landlords, I was like, you know what, let's spruce our stuff up a little bit.
Yeah, and charge fair amount.
It would change things up. But because, if I only put X amount in my units,
yeah,
and I can still charge top tier, why not, right?
Right. Yeah, 100%. But it's just simply it's interesting, and I'm glad that you noticed it because I feel like landlords have become lazy. They're not putting the best effort forward, and it's because they're taking advantage of the population. They're taking advantage of apartment seekers that are out there that are like saying, "Listen, I'm getting kicked out. I need somewhere to live." They're hearing these stories over and over and again,
Right.
and if somebody doesn't want to pay, they're like, "Bet next, somebody's gonna pay for it, and they're gonna slap some
Right.
paint and call
I
it a
mean,
day."
I don't think there's a day that goes by that Facebook, someone doesn't post a status. Hey, does anyone know of this apartment? Like, I need an apartment. I need a place. And they come back with these prices, and they're like, man. But at the end of the day, it's like either that or nothing, right?
Right. Yeah.
So it kind of is what it is.
100%. 100%. But it all comes down to supply and demand.
Now we're gonna get into some fun stuff.
Okay.
This is my this or that segment. So I'm gonna shoot some questions at you.
Okay.
Hot or cold?
Hot.
And why hot?
I'm thinking of like temperature. I'm thinking of just like food. I prefer hot food. I prefer to be hot over cold. I can't be cold.
Okay. Jordan or LeBron?
LeBron.
And why LeBron?
I mean, I grew up watching LeBron. I think he's a better businessman. I think I don't know if he's a better basketball player, but I think he's a better all-around athlete and a better businessman, and I think he's had more of an impact on people than Jordan has.
Okay. Best rapper: Lil Wayne, Kanye West.
Kanye West. Lil Wayne is nice, and I think Lil Wayne's a better rapper. All right, so Kanye's a better artist. Lil Wayne's a better rapper.
Okay.
Is that okay?
It's however you want to answer. I leave it up in the air just for that reason,
Kanye's a better artist. Lil Wayne's a better rapper, but I'm gonna go with Kanye.
Would you rather be loved or respected?
Respected.
And why is that?
I think respect goes a long way. I think if people respect you, you leave a mark on this planet. I think you leave an impact on people. I think when people respect you, you've done something to them. And yeah, that's a really good question, but I would say respect. And I think it allows people to not take advantage of you. It allows people to deal with you in a certain type of way, because we know loved ones can take advantage of you, right? People can love you and still do you dirty, but that's a lack of respect.
Mm-hmm. Now, I don't know how much you were outside when you were a teenager, but
Not much.
I asked this question to all my Rhode Island people. Teen parties, Barry's or Tantric?
Oh, I'll go tantric because I've only been to like, I don't know if I've ever been to Barry's, to be honest with you.
Gotcha.
I don't know if I've ever been to Barry's.
So you going
My
Tantric.
mom was a strict Pentecostal woman.
Gotcha. Today's Afrobeat or 90s R&B?
Say this again.
Today, present day Afrobeat music or 90s R&B
90s
music?
R&B. Stop playing with me. 90s R&B all the way.
90s R&B. Seafood diet, as in shellfish, lobster, shrimp, or seafood diet, whatever's on the table, I'm good to go.
So, whatever's on the table, I'm good to go. Yeah.
Not that picky.
Not that picky at all.
This is a new segment, and I'm, gonna start it off with you.
I like this.
I'm gonna start it off with you.
Okay.
Smooth or not smooth? That's the segment, and we're gonna start off with $300 first dates. Is that smooth or not smooth?
That is extremely smooth. I know inflation's through the roof, but come on, $300 first dates. That is smooth. That is Capital Grill. That is Fleming's. And even if you're not going out to dinner, even if you go have a regular dinner, you can still do something fun afterwards.
Okay. Surgery abs for men.
That's lit.
So that's smooth.
That's smooth.
So the French Montana, the Drake.
That's smooth.
Okay. Splitting rent with your significant other. Smooth or not smooth?
Depends. It depends on how you see gender roles, right? If we're thinking of the typical gender role,
I'm asking you. Stop
asking
doing
me.
that.
Stop
I'm
doing
asking
that.
you.
All right, I don't gotta be politically correct.
No,
That's not smooth.
not smooth.
Come on, man.
Not smooth. Okay. Social media. Smooth or not smooth?
It is smooth. It's smooth for the right person. I think social media is a platform that allows people to promote themselves, promote their businesses, be on the know. But it's also it's bad. I see a lot of like comparing. I see a lot of just jealousy and just things that can make teenagers and everybody just self-conscious and kind of have mental health issues. So for the right person, I think social media is very smooth.
Designer clothes.
Man, where you come up with these questions? These are good.
I know.
It's smooth. I think it makes you feel. I'm thinking from a businessman perspective. It makes you feel a certain type of way, but I hate when I see a certain type of person wearing it, and I just know that you spent your last dollar on this, and for what? I don't think I have any designer on right. Well, I can't say that, but
Have you ever been guilty of that?
early on, yes. And forget about designer. Like, I used to, like, be, like, 15, 16 years old, like, overdrafting to go to Eblen's and buy Jordans.
Wow.
Because I had to, right? But that's, especially in our community, man, we got to stop with that. I know people that I can dress better than wearing an outfit from Zara, and they might have went to Saks Fifth.
Right.
I guarantee I can dress better than them.
Right.
It's nasty.
I think I already know your answer to this, but smooth or not smooth, hoochie daddy shorts.
Smooth. I can't even see my shorts right now. Smooth, baby. Come on.
Last for this segment, Rhode Island winters, smooth or not smooth?
Rhode Island winters are smooth until December 31st or January 1st. After that, it's too dark. It gets way too dark too early, and it gets too cold from January to March. I hate it.
Should I just wait? We're almost done. I just got some fire questions.
No, I like these.
Huh?
That's out. That's fine.
Okay, yeah. Did you happen to get any clips by any chance? Yeah, and like the video stuff. But I could probably just get the video stuff once it's done. But all right, it's all set. All right. So now these are the fire questions. First thing that comes to mind. Your biggest inspiration.
The first thing that comes to mind. My mom.
City you would like to live in. So this is if you weren't tied to a job, if money wasn't, deterring you from living in one place rather than the other. If you had full control over what city you would raise a family in, live yourself, whatever the case may be, what city would it be? And
Providence, Rhode Island. I know you said if I'm not tied to it, but I think it's the easiest place to start a business. I think it's a great place to raise a family. And I think the diversity is amazing. And I think there's so much more that this city has to offer that we haven't even seen yet.
That's deep. I like that. Your favorite clothing brand?
I don't have one.
No favorite?
Nope. I really don't have one. I just don't. And we talked about designer. Like, I'm in a position, if I like it, I'm going to buy it. I don't care what it costs. But I'm not, like, checking for the new Balmain, the new Gucci. I don't care for it. I see my boys wearing stuff, and I don't even know what it is. And people are going crazy over it. What is that?
Right.
I don't know, bro.
Right.
If I like it, I'm going to buy it. But, yeah.
And, that brings me to, like, a little story. I remember kind of in college being, spending my last dollars on looking good and all these name brands when I obviously didn't have it. I'm in college, right? And I go to this party, and before I go to this party, my roommate, he wakes up from a nap, and he took a nap in his whatever auto school that he went to for driver's ed type of thing. Yeah. And we're going to a party, and he's wearing the same T-shirt, right? I'm like, so what's up with this guy? Mind you, I'm like putting it on. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And he ended up having a very successful night, and I was just like,
"What was you wearing?"
I don't know if that's white privilege. Like, I don't know what that is, but like,
you was flying.
But like from that point on, I'm like, something's different. Like, something's way different.
Yo, that's hilarious.
Top 5 current artists that you listen to right now.
Ooh, I love it. Summer Walker, not in any particular order, but Summer Walker, Chris Brown, Drake, of course. I like Blast.
Blast is fire.
And who would be the last person? It's probably it's an R&B artist that I'm just forgetting, and I'm gonna hate myself for not remember it now. But some female R&B artist,
maybe her.
No.
SZA.
Nope. Damn, it's just Summer Walker's everything to me. She's a beast. But I'm forgetting somebody right now. I said Blast, right? I'm gonna go with J. Cole. I'm still listening to Cole's last album, believe it or not. That's my guy. And I listen to a lot of his old stuff too, so.
What do you think J. Cole's best project is?
Friday Night Lights.
Yes.
It's not even close.
100%. Okay.
It's not even close.
I knew I liked you. Yeah, man. Last question. If you could have lunch with anybody, who would it be and why?
Warren Buffett. Because he's old and he thinks differently. I think he would simplify how I am looking at investments right now. I think we have a lot of great things. We have Earn Your Leisure. We have Ian Dunlap, the master investor, the Wall Street Trapper. These guys are phenomenal.
Right.
And they do a really good job of educating us. But there's also a bunch of content out there, right? You have you have platforms like Robinhood, Voyager, just went bankrupt. There's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many different techniques. There's a lot. I think Warren Buffett, every clip I see of this man, he's like, he sits back and he's talking like this, and it's all simple.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, oh crap, yeah. Like all the other chatter and the noise is just, it's confusing sometimes. And I think Warren Buffett, if I had like an hour with this man, it would probably just make me look at investing or, wealth or finance in a different light. And I'd look at things from a different perspective for sure.
From the interviews and kind of the speak engagements that I've seen Warren Buffett in, he always makes it seem like it's a point of like, duh, like, right. Yes, it is that simple. Like, why are you trying to make it?
Why are you trying to complicate it? Yeah, and I see that.
And he also, I often see that he takes away his genius and kind of is on the side of like, it could work, it could not work, like, but you live to fight another day,
right? Yep, 100%. Can I give you a number 2?
Go ahead.
LeBron. Yeah, that's probably like my favorite person.
I mean, off the court, man.
Yeah, off the court. Forget about on the court. I mean, you have a billionaire playing in the Drew League.
Right.
You understand this?
Yeah, crazy. Dropping 40 too.
Dropping 40. You have a billionaire playing
right
basketball right now.
Crazy. It is crazy.
Come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
As we wrap this up, what is it that you want to tell that one person out there who just got put down? Their dreams aren't necessarily panning out the way that they would want. They just had this huge setback, this huge failure. What is something that you can tell those people to try to help them and motivate them to keep going?
Take a second to block out the noise, number 1, because I think at our lowest moment, we're going to feel how we feel, and then we're going to, be sad, and we're going to open up our phones, and we're going to see people happy. Right? We're going to see the picture that people are painting, and it's going to make us feel even more down on ourselves. So I think we need to block out the noise, and I think we need to feel how we feel. And I think we shouldn't avoid how we're feeling. We should deal with it. We should embrace it, and then we should get up and move forward and just think of the ultimate goal. If your goal was to do X and you failed at it, remember why that was your goal.
Right.
Remember your why. So block out the noise, soak it in, cry if you gotta cry, hurt if you gotta hurt, but get up and remember your why.
That's amazing, man. Well, thank you very much for coming. I definitely appreciate it.
I appreciate you.